I would love for you to start. You're the one that is like the expert.
You're breaking up. I think you said you want me to start.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, welcome everyone. I'm Stanislava Lukok, and the other moderator is Julie Laurent. She's going to introduce herself a bit later. I am a naturopath and fertility coach, and I work with women, men, and couples that have fertility issues. I come from a personal journey of difficult reproduction. I have this pop-up on the screen that's telling me the meeting is being recorded, but as long as everybody can hear me and see me, I don't care. Do you hear and see?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I have a difficult personal journey towards my two boys who are now 4 and 9. I conceived them naturally in my 40s after many failed conventional medicine attempts. I had 5 failed IUIs and 1 failed IVF. And then we revamped totally our lifestyle, me and my husband, and I was able to conceive in my 40s 2 healthy boys and give birth to 2 healthy pregnancies. Today we are going to talk about problems with the menstrual cycle and what to do about them. At any time, feel free to interrupt and ask questions. The easiest way, I would say, is just turn on your video and feel free to interrupt. Somehow it is more interactive, like when people participate with their video, it's easier. But if you feel like you want to type a comment, you're welcome to do so. The conventional medicine talks about irregular menstrual cycles. For each menstrual cycle of a woman in a reproductive age, in the years, let's say between 18 years old and 45 years old, if the period falls out of the standard duration, and for standard duration is accepted to be between 24 and 38 days. Irregular would be a period also, menstrual cycle that varies with 7 or more days each time compared to previous menstrual cycles. So if you get your period once every 25 days, and then the next one is like 9 days longer or shorter, and you have consistently these discrepancies, that is also considered a regular menstrual cycle. Irregular would be also a menstrual cycle that is particularly painful, and there could be various reasons. Endometriosis is one of the diagnoses that can give you irregular menstrual cycles. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, is another diagnosis that is going to give you irregular menstrual cycles. There are disturbances of the menstrual cycle, of course, when there is pregnancy, when there is breastfeeding. Postpartum is also considered an irregular menstrual cycle. And then, of course, there is menopause and perimenopause, but usually this is considered normal because it's part of the aging. So I would like to take more time today to talk about a method of tracking our menstrual cycle with the so-called basal body temperature charting. This is a wonderful way of gathering tons of information about our female bodies and about what the body does every month. And when we have a lot of information, we know better what we are dealing with. Usually, an irregular menstrual cycle will have a hormonal disbalance, and tracking through basal body temperature is going to give us a great idea about hormonal levels, about duration of the different phases of the menstrual cycle. There are two general phases of the menstrual cycle. The first one is the follicular phase, the first half up to the ovulation, and then post-ovulation is the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle. Through tracking basal body temperature, we can see the levels of estrogen, that is the dominating hormone in the follicular phase, and the levels of progesterone, which is the dominating hormone in the luteal phase. We can see if there is ovulation occurring, if it is a healthy ovulation. We can understand when the ovulation takes place. And the more, it's called BBT charting, basal body temperature charting, the more we know what we have to address. What is the disbalance that our particular body manifests, so that we can treat it and we can optimize the menstrual cycle. The temperature taking is through a basal body thermometer, which is a digital thermometer. What's typical about this thermometer, it has two signs after the decimal, 2 digits. It measures with a bigger accuracy than regular digital thermometers, and we take the temperature each morning upon waking, immediately after waking, under the tongue, and then we record it. Nowadays we are lucky, we have a lot of smart apps that you can download on your phone and record this temperature, and the smart app will at the end of the month draw a chart that it's going to give us all this information about the female body. Usually we want a follicular phase, what is considered normal, what is considered optimal in reproductive age, is a follicular phase between 12 and 16 days. Anything that is shorter than 12 days and longer than 16 days is associated with hormonal disbalance, often with a compromised egg quality. And we want the luteal phase at least 12 days. Anything shorter is associated with progesterone deficiency, not optimal levels of progesterone. And then we are talking about the so-called luteal defect. The basal body temperature charting is going to tell us a lot about our thyroid. Also in follicular phase, if we see a couple or more temperatures lower than 36.2 degrees Celsius. I imagine most of the people are from Europe, so we are not talking Fahrenheit today. We're going to talk in Celsius. When we see lower temperatures, that is always a sign, a signaling light that we need to check the thyroid. Usually it is lazy thyroid, hypothyroidism, hypofunction of the thyroid gland. I don't know if I should enter into details about more details about the basal body temperature, but we want to also track the days of menstruation and to track the flow and the specifics of the flow. You do want to see bright red blood relatively quickly. You don't want to see the brown spotting for a day or longer. That's usually associated with progesterone deficiency. You don't want to see blood clots. Blood clots, or have those. There are things you can do to normalize the menstruation. Usually blood clots are a sign of poor blood circulation. And you don't want to have a painful menstruation or a painful menstrual cycle in general. It's not normal, and it is usually a sign of a hormonal disbalance. And I, being a naturopath, totally believe that we can work on achieving a hormonal balance to normalize the menstrual cycle through diet, through hydration, through changes of major lifestyle habits towards healthier ones. We can work on sleep and exercise, on lowering the toxic load. We can use food supplementation to help with nutritional deficiencies. And of course, psychological and emotional health plays a big role on your menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle is considered now a vital sign for women. The way our heart rate or blood pressure is a vital sign, the menstrual cycle is another vital sign that tells us a lot about, most of the time, if it's irregular, an underlying condition. And it's usually a first signal that something in the female body is not happening correctly. And we can dig and find the underlying cause for that. We can talk a lot about
Stani, can I ask you a
seed
question?
cycle. Yeah, sure.
Does
Go ahead.
Does it matter to take, if people take contraception?
Absolutely. Contraception can be a culprit for irregular menstrual cycles, abnormal menstrual cycles. You usually, if you are getting off the pill, you can, a lot of women have very, especially the longer you took the contraceptive, and that's not only the contraceptive pill, but also other methods of contraception like Mirena, the spiral, and other kind of stuff. I've never had one, so I cannot tell you what they are called exactly, but all methods of contraception that conventional medicine uses can impact your menstrual cycle. Usually women, the longer they stay on the pill, irregular cycles for quite a while. So another thing that is very popular nowadays is seed cycling. You maybe have heard that as a method of optimizing the menstrual cycle. usually the seeds that are consumed in the follicular phase when we do cycling are ground pumpkin seeds and flax seed in the follicular phase, and then ground sunflower and sesame seeds in the luteal phase. Another tactic to influence the menstrual cycle, to optimize it, is the so-called moon cycling. You've probably heard about the influence of the moon on the, and maybe Julie wants to add something about that, because we were chatting, and I know probably you have a take on this. But most scientific research shows how the moon impacts bodily fluids, and it is only assumed that this is one area of influence impacting the bodily fluids. It can impact the menstrual cycle, and I know there are some controversial opinions about the effect of the light, the moonlight. But through the gravity of the moon, it does impact the bodily fluids, and usually women that have irregular cycles, if they expose themselves to the direct moonlight, often, that's only in summertime, we cannot do this in the evening, but I've heard about a lot of women sleeping under the sky, under the stars in the summer, and that regulates their menstrual cycle. And usually the full moon is the ovulation, so the menstrual cycle starts with the new moon. If you expose yourself to the direct moonlight often, it should sync your cycle, the first day of menstruation to be the new moon. Also, a lot of births happen on a full moon. I think both of my boys were born at a full moon. Do you wanna jump in and say your perspective, and maybe I will think of something else? Like, I can talk at length about basal body temperature, because it's really a great tool to work on the menstrual cycle if it's irregular.
Yes, I can definitely.
But maybe you want to say something now.
Yes. So first of all, I'm mindful communication coach and a motivational speaker. I believe in bringing awareness into our body, into our actions, our words, our thoughts, and knowing ourselves as being a key to having a healthy life. The menstrual cycle is something that we rarely talk about, and it takes time to know ourselves and to know what's normal, what's not normal, and exploring and having an app, like Stani mentioned, really entering the data for knowing when you start bleeding, what is the flow, when you start having a painful breast, when you start feeling like differently emotionally, when you are if you start being impatient, or you feel like there is something different than usual, it can be related, and it's often related to your cycle. One of the things that seems crazy to me now is that we have the same lifestyle every day, where we are like the moon, changing every day, and we have those type of like expansion and reduction, and this is so important for for us to feel wonderful, it's important to actually be aware of this. And when it's time for our menstruation, um, it's not a time where I'm going to start running a marathon. It's a time where I'm going to start taking more bath. I'm going to start to read more. And I'm going to start to just slow down and maybe eat a little less. It's really about giving my body the rest that it needs to actually let go and recycle. So I think it's one of the things that is important for me to share with you today is to um, be more aware. Notice when you are not aware, or notice when you know but you don't listen. And it's not about beating ourselves up, but it's more about giving ourselves love. And to give ourselves love, first of all we need to be aware, and then um take small actions. It doesn't have to be like big things, but it can be like little things. Take a longer shower, or just disconnect your phone for a moment every day to just be with yourself. Maybe journal. um, i- Often we forget about the like spiritual part of our being. We are not just bodies moving around. We are also a being that is connected with everything around. And maybe we can ask support of our partner or family around when it's the cycle time, and it's when it's a menstrual cycle, and I'm like, okay, I'm having my period, and talk freely about your period. It's one of the things that sometimes we don't want to share, that we're on our period, but it's crucial that people know around us that we're actually not like our full self, so they can actually understand, and they can support us, and we can guide them how to support us, um, so that emotionally they know that if we're saying things and we're not so gentle, maybe it's because you know we don't want to care about others. We just want to care about ourselves right now, and it's okay. So it helps. It's not about categorizing and saying, well, you are this way and it's bad when you're on your period. It's more like, hey, this is real for me. It's I'm not pretending here. I'm letting go of an entire like part of my body right now that it was ready for to make a baby. So we are like, you know letting go of something. So it's a very like, it's a deep thing that is happening. And it's also the start of a rebirth and a new opportunity to have new follicles, new eggs coming up. So it's a transition. In a you know it's crucial to be aware of that. I want to ask, I think you have like two people on the call, and I don't know if you are like completely listening, but if you are, I would like to know if you have a different like lifestyle, or you are aware of that and you are really paying attention to your menstrual cycle. Are you doing something different, or would you like to do something different for your during this cycle, this time of the menstruation? That's something that I would love to know. um but if you're not here, it's okay, or if you don't want to share, it's okay.
Can I share about mine?
You can share about yours. What's your practice?
Um, I mean, not only about mine, but something that I personally do since I have raised my level of awareness, because I also had years where I had my period and I had no clue. And now I tell all the women, especially the ones in reproductive age, like it's a period where as you say, we need to turn more inside. We need to take it easy. We need to take a rest. We are losing part of our bodies, and we need to nourish our body. And during this time, it's very important that you have nutrient dense food. I like to eat foods that resemble blood. Like I like to eat red meat. I like to eat liver. I like to eat beets and blueberries. Foods like that look like your blood because they are very nutrient dense. Did we have somebody
That is
say
very
something or
interesting.
raise a
Yes, I like hearing this. I do. I'm supposed to have my period tomorrow, and I started to eat beets today. So I'm with you on that. I crave it right away, and I had like a red meat and beet today. So I'm like getting ready with that. We have Anna that shared with us that she doesn't have a special lifestyle, but she does feel more nervous usually. Why do you think she feels nervous?
because of usually the progesterone drops right before your menstrual cycle because the uterine lining needs to start shedding if there is no pregnancy, of course. So that progesterone drop might well be the reason why she feels nervous.
Interesting, because she has the like it's amazing, Anna, that you have the actual like emotional response of your actual hormonal body, and it's fascinating to be in touch with that, um and maybe exploring because
Yesterday I listened to
yeah, sorry, Stan.
yesterday I listened to a podcast about it was about fertility, but it was comparing the menstrual cycle, like the seasons. Basically, in a menstrual cycle, we do have a spring and a summer and a fall and winter. And the winter is just before the menstruation comes, and the menstruation and the shedding of the lining and the shedding of the leaves of the trees. And the spring is the follicular phase, just before the ovulation, where you're growing these follicles, you're growing new life, and so the association of living a winter just before the menstruation comes is maybe that's what makes us nervous.
Mm-hmm. It does make total sense. I want to reply to Anna, or not reply, but jump on what she says. She does like mention that she has like very drastic change of emotions and overreacting. What I want to say about that, um it seems sometimes when the body is overreacting, it's, for me, I kind of call it the volcano effect. It's often because you had first signs of informations from the body, but you haven't like taken any actions, and you kind of ignore them. So sometimes we're numbing ourselves to actually be able to like do what we want to do, and the numbing is not strong enough. The body is stronger than that, so it's gonna start um, uh, amplifying the message, and that's probably what's happening in here, is that you get first signs, but you're not listening, so it gets bigger. So after, you're just overreacting, but if you had said something in the first moment where you start feeling, there's something bothering me right now, and it could be something like that you usually like accept, and it's about like bringing awareness.
Julie, maybe you can repeat the last sentence.
Yeah, I say when
You're breaking up. I don't know if it's for everybody, but
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe the connection maybe is unstable. It's about paying attention to the first signs. Um, it it could be it could be an underlying thing. It used to be my issue, is that I used to not listen to myself. I used to be a people pleaser, and I used to be like very proactive in like work and not taking care of myself, not taking never slowing down. And I realized that the body started to make more noise. And as I started to respect myself more, the messages were not as extreme. So it's really this connection. It's being mindful of what is the body saying, what am I feeling, and what can I do about it, and really paying attention and taking it as a very important thing. You are the most important person in your world, and you deserve to be happy, you deserve to be heard, you deserve to be loved. And the first person to love you and take care of you is yourself. So it's kind of like taking responsibility and be like, okay, all right, I need this, and let's start with that, because I can give to others after I give to myself. So there is something, and it's just like me, like sharing my experience in terms of those feelings that are like overloading me, and how I manage to uh, arrive to a place where I'm pretty calm. Now, when I feel something, it's not like a big thing. It's just gentle thing that I'm like, something's going on. Let's go and explore, and let's go inside. Let's check it out. And what can I do about it? Yeah. Does that give you a little bit? Is that like on the point? You can tell me on the chat. And I feel like also
I will encourage
nice. She says yes, definitely.
I don't know, I don't see the chat.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
probably very small on the phone. And if you're interested in this, at one point, I will probably do like a webinar on mindful communication, and kind of give you like more specific like tools to connect with yourself. That could be interesting, because it's a practice. Something that I wanted to say, Stanley, you talked about habits, lifestyle habits. We have developed our brain a certain way, and we have those neural pathways that are well created, and our brain just dives into those pathways as a normal thing, because that's what we created. And the only reason we created it is because we started to do one way, and we continued to do that way until we change the way. It's always going to go this way. So if I'm used to forget myself, then my brain is just going this way. For me to start going another way is going to take energy. It's going to take like literally physical energy for the brain to create a new neural pathway. So be patient with yourself. It's not going to be like something quick. It's something that you need to repeat again and again and again until the brain is like, oh, okay, there is a new pathway I can actually use, and make this one like the new one, the new habit that is easy, that is like natural. But it won't happen until you kind of really put awareness and choose a new way. Like it's like we're not victim of ourselves. We are just experiencing life and realizing sometimes that, okay, what I'm doing is not working. What can I do different? And start with small things. The smaller things, the better. Like you mentioned, hydration. Just add 1 glass of water a day for a week. Don't make a big deal of like 1 liter, one big thing. Just add a little bit, make it a habit, make it easy, simple, not a big thing, and then work on that and add more and add more, and take like 1 year, 2 years to change a lifestyle, not something drastic. It's better to go slow and to give the body the time to adapt to the new lifestyle and to make it drastic. And the body's gonna, at one point, something is gonna happen emotionally that is gonna be hard, and it's gonna go back into this default, and you're gonna, like, be like, well, I failed. You didn't fail, but you kind of like, you were a little too far from the base. So it can be easy to go slow, and sometimes I'm a drastic girl, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna stop eating for like 10 days. But I realized that it's good because it feels good, and I have like big detox and I like the feeling, but long term it doesn't change my habit. I fall right back to my bad habits. So my experience, I like to do both. I like to do like good cleansing, and then I also like to like change slowly. So, it's things to consider as you want to improve your life in general, the whole entire, like, not just the cycle, but the output of the life, what you create. Mm. Anna was asking
I'm
how.
reading awesome. I saw the question first. Maybe I have a suggestion. I see that some of the questions can be personal. I don't know if we want to stop the recording at this point, or do we want to finish with the theoretical portion and then we stop the recording so we can
Yes.
answer
What I
questions,
can do
unless
is,
Anna tells us that it's okay to answer her question.
yeah, I think because she's not online and showing her face, I think it's okay to answer the question in the recording. And if she's not comfortable with that, I can always cut the recording and edit it.
I think she said better later. Okay. We are going to answer the question once we stop the recording. I
Okay.
think that's what she would like.
Okay. So let's stop the recording.
I just wanted to say I just wanted to add on that note about changing the habits and reprogramming and rewiring the brain. A wonderful book I'm reading right now by Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's all about that, how to change your personality if you want a new personal reality. And it's awesome because he also gives you practical tools on how you can pretty much fight against the old you and change it if you want to expect a different result and you want to change something. Awesome book. Do we want to add anything else about the menstrual cycle before we stop the recording and start answering questions?
Well, we have 10 more minutes. I have to confess that I have a family dinner after that, so I actually want to finish on time too. And so if we're okay, if it's okay with you, we'll stop now the recording and we'll answer questions.
Yes.